We are here because we believe that as a profession, it is not merely our going to court and earning a fee, but it is, any profession is a service. It has to serve society. Whether you be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, or there are so many professions. So one of the fundamentals of a profession is service to society. And we are here because everybody has told you about the attacks on the judiciary. Mr. Salya Piris, Mr. Sumandaran, Mr. Upulja, Surya, Miza, Upul, and professor, the good professor from the academic sphere, has been explaining this to you. Why? Because whether we like it or not, we are a democracy. What is a democracy? A democracy is not something that is in a book or a constitution that Professor Vasanta Senivaratna will be lecturing on only. It is a living thing. It has to live. And as someone has said, a democracy is the worst form of government next to the others. So other forms of government are worse than a democracy. We have defects in a democracy, there is no doubt about it. But to talk of a benevolent dictator, or you want a strong man, it has proved time and again that strong men have been a disaster. They have only worried about themselves. They have not worried about the country. And I must say, though we have these lawyers on this platform here, the greatest attacks on democracy have been when people who have qualified lawyers as the heads of state, and I could say lawyers in parliament are the biggest disasters. And something that, because we have let the side down, let's face it. We talk of the 78 Constitution, the stoning of the houses of judges. Mr. Ranil Vikramasinghe says don't use the word excellency. But J.R. Jayawardena from a legal family, the president of Sri Lanka. And I would think that that simple man, Ranasinghe Premadasa, as the president, was the person who least attacked the judiciary. We have had this president, the previous president, who also had not the one before that, one of the elder brother who had a legal qualification, also attacked the judiciary. So, democracy is something very fundamental. What is democracy? It's the rule by the people. It's you, not only us. If democracy is the people, it's the worst form of government next to the others. And what is the judiciary? The judiciary is the last hope. It's the last hope. It's the body that has to decide. Disputes between citizens and disputes between the citizens and the state. If we allow the judiciary to be weakened, as Mr. Sumandaran said, we also have to criticize the judiciary when it's wrong. We have to make sure that the judiciary is closely watched and scrutinized to do the right thing, that there is no corruption, that there is no corrupt orders. That is part of our responsibility. But more so, in the interest of democracy, we need a strong judiciary, because the politicians will do what they always mostly do, because they're only worried about themselves and the next election. But the judges are there to decide disputes objectively, uphold the rights of a party or the people. And if that goes, that is the end. We may talk of economic prosperity, but that won't last long. Or we may talk of stability, that won't last long, unless we are founded on democracy. What is our constitution? Our constitution, as I said, is not for something to be read and lectured upon. It's a living body. It's something that has to progress. It has to protect the people. It has to protect society. And why we say this is also what we fail to realize. Of course, we make the mistake of electing people to parliament who are not suited. And so we are largely to blame. But we forget that parliament, the executive and the judiciary are agents of the sovereign people. Our constitution is based on sovereignty. The sovereignty is not in parliament. In that sense, they are only agents. Technically, they are only agents. So is the judiciary. So, they are our agents, yours and mine. And they have to be accountable. There has to be a balance of powers. There cannot be abuse. And the foremost institution to protect the rights of the people is the judiciary. And if the judiciary goes, we might as well roll up the constitution, forget about democracy. And then we are going to have chaos. I can assure you that no dictatorship will last long. No dictatorship will help the country in the long run. And it's going to have always that amount of disharmony. And one of the things that I think as lawyers we forget, the judiciary is important, it has to be independent. But we lawyers are part of the justice system. We are an essential part. That is something we forget. We elevate our politicians to gods, which is useless. We also sometimes elevated our judges to gods. They are equal partners with the members of the legal profession. Without the lawyers, you don't have a court of law, whether it's the official or the unofficial bar. So the lawyers have to realize that their role is equal to that of the judges. That is my firm belief. And we should not degrade ourselves, bring ourselves down. We have an equal right as a judge to demand justice for our clients, for the citizens. It's not merely the judge dispensing justice. We have a right to demand it. So we, as lawyers, must realize our importance without lowering ourselves in status, because we are equal partners with the judiciary in justice. We are not, everybody thinks of us as these Kalukot Karyas running around making noise and earning money. But maybe that's partly true. But the fact is, we got to realize the importance of the legal profession, how it stands for justice, how it stands against abuse, and how we have to serve the people and the Constitution and uphold the Constitution. So are we, and that is where we have to all take responsibility. Because it's not enough only for the lawyers to protect and come forward, like Mr. Saleh Piris explained how when democracy was at threat, the lawyers came to the forefront. And today you had everybody explaining how democracy is hit a low level now with so much of abuse and so much of threats to the judiciary. So, but then we are partly to blame. Because look at what we did a few years ago. We elect some guy with 6.9 million votes, and after 2 years we chased the poor fellow away. What's wrong with us? In 2 years' time we chase him away. So something's wrong with us. So we have to take responsibility for democracy, you and I. And unless we do this, and unless we realize, and now not only is there the question of attacks on democracy, there are other subtle threats which comes from the rulers, whether it's by means of racial, religious tensions. And those have to be stopped. So the lawyers have to make, maybe under the ICCPR is being wrongly used. People are being locked up for wrong reasons only because you're a political opponent or a critic. And so we have to make sure that the judiciary delivers justice to those people. We have had some strong judgments from the High Court on the wrong use of the ICCPR to just punish people, and the misinterpretation, the misunderstanding of the ICCPR by the government in prosecuting people. So while I associate myself with everything that has been said by the learned members of this table, my call to you is that without resorting, I think the Aragale was right, pardon me for saying it, because we have lost trust in all our rulers. And we have this, what you call this Tattumaru system. We bring blue, green, red in rotation, but we generally end up appointing the same rogues in rotation. So there is your responsibility, whether we have to look for a change in thinking, because unless the change comes from us in how we think of a united, independent Sri Lanka and stand for objective values without getting sidestepped or distracted by things of race, religion, or economics, democracy cannot flourish. It cannot be a true democracy. I thank you all for this opportunity to speak today. I appreciate your presence, which shows your keenness and interest in protecting democracy and in realizing that the judiciary is very fundamental to preserve democracy. And let's see how we can go forward to try to foster more democracy, more unity, and to protect the judiciary. Thank you.
What we are doing today is not an academic discussion. If it was an academic discussion on the executive democracy and the judiciary, we wouldn't have even had 10% of this attendance that we have here today. The fact that we've had more than double the number that perhaps the organizers expected goes to show that all of us know, all of us are aware of the threat to democracy and to the judiciary by the executive mainly, directly by the executive and the executive acting through the legislature as well. And that's why we are here. This as a context. We are not here because we wanted to know the relationship between these three phenomena. இன்றைக்கு நாங்கள் இங்கே கூடி வந்திருப்பது ஒரு முக்கியமான சரித்திர நிகழ்வு காரணமாக. நாங்கள் வெறுமனே ஒரு பாடம் படிப்பதற்காக ஒரு கருத்தரங்கிலே கலந்து கொள்வதற்காக இங்கே கூடி வரவில்லை. எங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் ஏன் நாங்கள் இங்கே வந்திருக்கிறோம் என்பது உள்ளார்ந்தமாக நன்றாக தெரிந்த ஒரு விடயம். இன்றைக்கு ஜனநாயகமும் நீதித்துறையும் நிறைவேற்றுத்துறையினாலும் சட்டவாக்கத்துறையினாலும் அச்சுறுத்தலுக்கு உள்ளாக்கப்பட்டிருப்பது எங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் தெரிந்த காரணத்தினால்தான் நாங்கள் இத்தனை பேர் இங்கே கூடி வந்திருக்கிறோம். So this has been a great tradition of the bar, and we are so proud of it. The members of the bar are very proud of it. I am very conscious of the fact that there are others also here who don't belong to the legal fraternity, but we are very encouraged by the fact that you have come also because you have thought it important. You have thought that this is an important point in the history of the country, that you should also be part of this movement that protects the judiciary and, more importantly, democracy in this country. சட்டத்தரணிகள் அல்லாதவர்களும் எங்களோடு சேர்ந்து வந்திருப்பது எங்களுக்கு பெரும் நம்பிக்கையை ஊட்டுகிறது. ஏனென்றால் சரித்திரத்திலே, இந்த நாட்டின் சரித்திரத்திலே ஒரு முக்கியமான திருப்பு முனையிலே நீங்கள் எங்களோடு சேர்ந்து இந்த போராட்டத்திலே ஈடுபடுவது அத்தியாவசியம் என்று நீங்கள் நினைத்ததை குறித்து நாங்கள் சந்தோஷப்படுகிறோம். As has already been said, the judiciary is under attack. The judiciary is being cajoled, the judiciary is being threatened. Many things are being done to the judiciary to subjugate the judiciary to the other branches of the government. Now, we as legal professionals and others stand up for the judiciary, for the independence of the judiciary, because that is absolutely crucial for a functioning democracy. That is not to say that we say that whatever the judiciary does is right. No, that's not what we are saying. What we are saying is that the judiciary has a separate, a distinct, and an important independent function in the structure of democracy, and that must be preserved whatever happens. That space for the judiciary must not be transgressed into by the other organs or anyone else. That is what we are here to protect. We do criticize judgments. When a professor is here, academically, even otherwise, wrong judgments are openly criticized. And that's good. That is good for the judiciary, that's good for democracy, that's good for freedom of speech. But We will not allow the judiciary to be attacked, the judiciary to be subjugated and made to follow the dictates of others. Independence of the judiciary is fundamental to any democratic system. நாங்கள் நீதித்துறையினுடைய சுயாதீனத்தை பாதுகாப்பதற்காகத்தான் கூடியிருக்கிறோம். அதனுடைய கருத்து நீதித்துறை செய்வது எல்லாம், நீதித்துறை சொல்வதெல்லாம், அவர்களுடைய தீர்ப்புகள் எல்லாம் சரி என்று நாங்கள் சொல்வதில்லை. அவற்றையும் நாங்கள் விமர்சிக்கலாம், பகிரங்க வழியிலும் விமர்சிக்கலாம், பாடத்திட்டங்கள் மூலமாக விமர்சிக்கலாம், பல்கலைக்கழகத்திலே விமர்சிக்கலாம். அதையும் நாங்கள் செய்வோம். அதுவும் நீதித்துறைக்கு நல்லது, அதுவும் ஜனநாயகத்துக்கு நல்லது. ஆனால் நீதித்துறைக்கென்று தனியாக பிரத்யேகமாக வைக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிற இடத்தை வேறெவரும் கவர்ந்து விடுவதற்கோ அல்லது நீதித்துறை தங்களுடைய விருப்பப்படி நீதித்துறையை ஆட்டுவிப்பதற்கு அவர் முனைந்தாலும் அதற்கு நாங்கள் இடமளிக்க மாட்டோம் என்பதுதான் எங்களுடைய நிலைப்பாடு. Now this happens over and over again. Many previous instances have been already mentioned, and I'm not going to repeat those. Time and again this happens, that the rulers who constitute the executive and are part of the legislature think that they must have their own way, that there must not be any interference into what they think is their preserve. That is where an independent judiciary comes in, to protect the rights of the citizen, to protect the rights of the people. And in that functioning, the judiciary has a singular and a very specific, important role to play. Not just between citizen and citizen, but nowadays more and more between the state and the citizen. To uphold the social contract that we have in the form of our constitution, give it efficacy, give it effect, so that it's not dead letter. But for that, the judiciary must be strong. Some of our fears is that at certain times there is angst in our minds, wondering whether the judiciary is also cowing down. And that is also not something that we can allow to happen. If judges feel threatened, or if judges are vying for favors and they move away from the straight and narrow, we will have to protest about that as well. What we stand for is not judges. What we stand for will be the independence of the judiciary. A judiciary that acts independently according to law and deliver justice. That is the standard by which we will judge all these branches of government. And as has already been said, legal professionals, we do have a duty to society. It can even be described as a selfish one, because if these are to break down, we also have no place. If the legal profession is to function with some meaning, if people are to have confidence in the functioning legal system, then it is our bounden duty to ensure that these branches are kept within the space that has been allocated to them. And if any other branch seeks to transgress into the independence of the judiciary, it is the legal profession first, and so many others who are here who will join with us who will stand up against that and ensure that this will not break down and democracy will prevail. நாங்கள் சட்டத்துறையை பாதுகாப்பதைப் போலத்தான் இந்த 3 அங்கங்களையும் பாதுகாக்க வேண்டும். அதை செய்கிற வேளையிலே விசேடமாக நீதித்துறைக்கு ஒரு அச்சுறுத்தல் வருமாக இருந்தால் அதற்கு எதிராக எழுந்து நிற்பது சட்டத்துறையாகத்தான் இருக்க வேண்டும். ஏனென்றால் சட்டத்துறையிலே நம்பிக்கை மக்கள் இழந்தால் நாங்களும் இருப்பதிலே பிரயோசனம் இல்லை. ஆகவே தன்னலமாக கூட நாங்கள் சிந்தித்தாலும் இந்த நீதித்துறையினுடைய சுயாதீனத்தை பேணுவதிலே நாங்கள் பலமுள்ளவர்களாக நிற்க வேண்டும். அதை தொடர்ந்து பாதுகாக்க வேண்டும். And I thank all of you who have taken time to come here, who thought this was important. Obviously, the turn of events in our country in the last several months have told us that we are going down a wrong path and the independence of the judiciary is under severe threat. And it is up to us now to rise up as one and hold this avalanche that's coming, not let it destroy the democracy in our country. Thank you.
The News Reporter. වාරණයෙන් තොර අපක්ෂපාතී වාර්තාකරණය